And good morning, and welcome. This is David Boles Live. Wonderful 58 degrees and sunny skies here on the East Coast of the United States. It is a pleasure to see you and be with you today. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are located in the world. We have some interesting topics to discuss today as we move backward in time to discuss where we've come from and perhaps where one day we might be going and end up together. So it's been an interesting overnight. I always like to review the events of the previous day and share new information as we find it. We invite you to join us in chat if you have something interesting you'd like to share or say. And as you can tell, we have some lovely bots who are in our chat, giving little informational promos, what we're doing, who we are, where we're going. You can get information from them, like typing !title, and it'll tell you the title of this stream. !quote. Get your little quote. Several quotes. Quote number 15, writing a podcast is serving the majesty of history. I said it, and I made it into a quote. So these are part of the things that we do in a live stream that you really can't do in a blog post or a podcast or some other kind of pre-recorded format. You can only do these things in real time. So yesterday, Twitter Blue went live. And if you don't know what Twitter Blue is, I'll tell you right now. Twitter Blue is really, in my opinion, very interesting. Twitter Blue is a $3 a month service that allows you to manipulate how and why you are seen and interact on Twitter. Most of it's behind the scenes. I'll share with you the what and the why of how and why I signed up with Twitter Blue the first moment it was available. This is my lovely Twitter stream. And as you can see, my highlighted colors are now purple instead of the default blue. That's part of it. You can change your color if you want to. And what's interesting is a lot of people are against this Twitter Blue. They think they don't want to pay for something that's really very free. But I don't mind paying. And most people want an edit button to go in and edit what they've said so they can go back in time and they say fix punctuation marks. But in my experience, and I've been on the internet for a long time, I'm very old, is what people do, especially in online communities, is they type something. Other people respond negatively, usually. Positively, people don't change their posts. And then they go back in time and they either remove the part that the person is complaining about. And I was in a major forum one time and a woman did that to me. And I got all this blowback from moderators, like, why are you being so harsh on this woman? She hasn't done anything to you. And I said, well, after she posted her message, I replied to her, and then she went back and edited her message that I replied to, making it look like I was not being supportive of her. And I later learned that there was a timeout. You had to wait like 10 minutes for someone to lose the opportunity to edit their posts. I didn't know that at the time. However, because I'm an old man and because I'm on the internet and because this happened about 10 years ago, I had saved a screenshot and a text copy of what she originally posted. Because I could tell by her personality that she was that kind of person who would go in and edit their message. So after I got attacked, and then she said, yes, I'm innocent. What did I do? Look how he spoke to me. I went right back on there in the public realm, talking to the moderators and said, hey, look. She edited her message. No, I didn't edit my message. You're just being mean to me. And I said, well, here's the evidence. And the moderators can go back and check to see if a comment has been edited or not. And I said, well, you can go back and check, but here's the proof, here's a screenshot, and here's the text of what she wrote. And of course, what could she do? She disappeared, she didn't say anything, didn't apologize. And I just kind of felt, well, now you know when a person reveals what kind of person they are, you know exactly who they are and how to deal with them. So that was unfortunate. So that's why I don't mind that Twitter does not allow anybody to go back and edit their tweets for any amount of time, even if it's a fixed typo. If you don't like a typo, just go back and delete it and repost it. It's very dangerous. Even if you can edit your tweet for, let's say instead of 10 minutes, you have a 3-minute window to go edit your tweet. Well, most people know that when a tweet is posted, people respond to it, especially if it's a hot topic or politically motivated. And all these people reply, and then the originator goes back in 2 minutes, changes the tweet, and everybody looks foolish for what they're saying. So, I don't mind that not being able to edit a tweet is not part of Twitter Blue. So let's go back to Twitter Blue. So this is what it looks like. You get a little bit of purple. You also get this fire thing. I don't know if that has always been there. I don't really use Twitter much on the web, but these are top articles that I guess make it easier to read or something. I don't care about that either, really. I'll show you the things I care about, if I can find them. Oh, it's this button. Here it is, Twitter Blue. Yeah. Shows you what you're doing. You can undo a tweet, which is the same as editing a tweet, because if you undo it, but it gets undone before you've sent it, so it's like a delay. So I'm going to go for 60 seconds. Replies, also timeout. You can make it 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, you see. So I like that. Undo tweet. Let's go for the full amount, 60 seconds, which is not a lot of time, although it sounds like a lot of time. Labs, you get longer video uploads, you get pinned conversations. So I like that. My DMs, I can highlight, I think, up to 4 conversations. And they'll be right at the top of my box, which I like, because otherwise it's just chronological order, so things can get lost. You can upload longer videos, I believe up to 10 minutes. I'll take that too. I used it yesterday. Ad-free articles. I don't really care about that. Manage your subscription. There are other things you can do. How did I set my coloring? I lost it. Oh, it's display. Yeah, see, it's right here, display. And this is where you can set what color you want. And you can't pick any color you want. Twitter Blue is the regular, ordinary blue that we all have come to know, and that I don't really like very much, even though I love blue. I'm wearing blue today. Yes, the old DB logo. So I picked purple. I like the purple. It looks good, especially on iOS. But you have to set it separately. You have to set your colors on the web and on your phone. And here's what I really like the most about the Twitter Blue is being able to set my navigation on my phone. So this is a screenshot from my phone. You can pick, I think you can have 5 or is it 6? Yeah, 6. Home you always have to have. So home is on by default, and then you can add 5 more. You can have spaces, messages, notifications, bookmarks, lists. I chose explore, notifications, messages, which I like. Your profile, which you wouldn't think you'd want to go back to too often, but you really do, because that's where you see if a tweet has been successfully posted or not. And monetization. And then when you save that, this is a shot from my iOS screen. See, way down at the bottom. Everything's purple, by the way. Way down at the bottom, you see the new navigation screen. So you have home, search, messages, and there's your profile pic. You click on that, takes you right to your profile, alerts and monetization. I find all of that super helpful in navigating Twitter. Is it worth $3 a month? To me, yes. Is purple worth $3 a month? Yes, it is. And now, just because we like to have fun together, let's go back to our page on the web. Click this. Oh my. And here we go. Let's send a tweet. Our first tweet via Twitter Blue. Well, before we get there, I'll show you what I did. Actually, the first tweet that I sent on Twitter Blue was... Oh, here's how to follow us on Twitch, in case you're old and don't know things like me. This is what we posted yesterday. I uploaded this video from Twitch to become... Oh, that's not it. Is it lower down? Yeah, this is it. Oh, here we go. Now, this is fun. I have to stop this. This is an actual Twitter video that I uploaded via Twitter Blue of me having a little rant about big blogs and small blogs. But this video you're watching was on Twitch that I downloaded to my computer, then I uploaded it to Twitch via their video media just to test to see if my Blue was working or not. I think this is a minute video, but it was a very large file, actually. So here's a short clip from today's live stream where I teach you how small bloggers are allowed to punch up on bigger blogs and why big blogs are not allowed to punch down to lesser blogs. And a smaller blog, let's say with 100 readers, writes something about you that's negative. That is a small blog punching up to you as the bigger blogger with 5,000 readers. Punch up. And that's okay. That's accepted. Now, the thing is, the big blog is not supposed to retaliate by punching down. On the smaller blogger. That's the courtesy, I guess, of online publishing. At least it was several years ago. Now it's probably all changed because everybody's a big blogger. So that was fun to post that. It's officially called a clip on Twitch and a short on YouTube. And I just call it plain old fun. So let's send a little tweet. Hello. Hello. We are live streaming right now on Twitch. And we are reviewing all the lovely benefits of, let's see if this works, Twitter Blue. Is that it? Oh, I think it is it. We'll take that of Twitter Blue and what it might mean for you. So far, we're loving it. Now, I have a screenshot. Should I drop it? Can you drop? I don't know if you can drop. I don't want to drop it. I'll just, I guess we'll call it media. Click in the media. Find our Twitter Blue image. Open. Sesame. Oh, it's so lovely. Hello, rereading. Hello, we are live streaming right now on Twitch. Boles blogs. Oh, put a thing in there for yourself. And we are reviewing all the lovely benefits of Twitter Blue and what it might mean for you. So far, we're loving it. Oh! And it still costs me $3 a month. Tweet. Now this is where, on iOS, we would go back and we would click our bottom navigation to go to ourselves. But here, I guess we just refresh the page. And we'll see if the lovely tweet has shown up. Oh, there it is. I'm tempted to like my own tweet, but I've noticed in the past when I've done that, it says, "Are you liking your own tweet? What kind of ego do you have, young man?" So, we don't do that. But the temptation is always there. So that's Twitter Blue. Hard to get away from the delight of Twitter Blue. So you can see our bots, our chat bots, are going a little bit crazy. Oh my goodness, our good friend Dora is with us today. Hello, Dora. It's so lovely to have you here. I'm going to introduce you to one of our friends from the past, which is a perfect reconciliation of the past with the now. And it's interesting, so if you're watching this live stream, there's a slight delay. I don't know if you remember, but I have, I'm on a big TV here via Apple TV, which is the way I watch myself. 36 inches, big TV. Well, 36 inches is not big today. I guess it's, 60 inches today. And on streaming just to make sure everything's running right and I can see myself. And if you don't have an Apple TV, you should get one because you download apps and you can load Twitch and you can watch Twitch like a regular TV channel. It's really quite amazing. And I've noticed there's about a 6-second delay from what I say right here to myself before it appears on TV, which is really fascinating. And then in chat, I've noticed through testing that what is typed has like a 2 or 3 second delay before it shows live. So sometimes it feels like we're a little out of sync, but we're actually in sync because that's the way live streaming and broadcasting is designed. Dora asks, can I watch Twitch on Roku? Now, excuse me so much. That I find to be a wonderful question. And because I'm that way... We have a lovely new follower. Oh, Kathy Husker is with us. Oh, I have to tell Jana. Oh, I have to tell Jana. I'm pausing and being terribly rude by SMSing my beautiful wife Janet to tell her best friend from Council Bluffs, Iowa, Kathy, is following. One moment, please. KG is following. She just showed up. Okay, so we told Janet. All right, so Roku, let's see, Twitch on Roku. Is it possible? I need to know. There's no official Twitch app for Roku devices anymore, although there used to be one. If you still have the old Twitch app installed, there's a chance it'll work, but it's unlikely. Well, that's not good news. That disappoints me. I'm sorry, Dora. I was high for a moment with KG from Council Bluffs, Iowa, joined us, and now I've fallen into the valley of despair and uncomfort, knowing that my Dora cannot watch on her Roku. Although if you have a phone, you can cast anything, your screen, to your TV, if you have that kind of TV. If you don't, there are other ways around it, but they're probably too complicated to get in right now. So we have lovely people with us today. It's so exciting. I'm going to tell you about an interesting thing that has happened. Last week, we discussed Diwali, especially here in Jersey City. We live 2 blocks away from what they call Little India, but it has a different name here, but it's Little India is not disrespectful. And it was a wonderful celebration. Diwali is about celebrating light over dark, and we're big on that here. We like a lot of light. The motto of Columbia University is In your light, shall we see the light. And one of our friends from way back, who I mentioned in my Diwali delight. Oh, Dora. Yeah, Roku is a very interesting device, although I think they're having some trouble also with Google not wanting to participate with them. I don't know if a Fire Stick is better. If Amazon is offering you a Fire Stick, well, now I have to go check that out. Hold on my Katha story. We're going back to the browser, and we're going to find out. Well, of course, no, it's not Twitter, it's Twitch on Amazon Fire Stick. Now, Amazon owns Twitch. Here we go. You can now get the Twitch app on Amazon Fire TV and turn your big screen television into your personal gaming theater or live stream theater. The Twitch app for Amazon Fire TV lets you watch your favorite games, the people you love, and the events you most want to be at. I finished a sentence with the word at. Okay. Browse live channels for games you want to play. So, that's good news. Twitch is on fire. Get Twitch for your Amazon Fire television. So that's a possibility. I think Fire Sticks are on fire sale, I think. This is a big month for buying things, by the way, especially in America with Black Friday sales. The entire month, I've learned, through email solicitations, is black. November is now a black month, not a Black Friday. Which is good for us, because we get cheap things. All right. So we're having a lovely time. Now we go back to our friend Katha and Diwali, and I mentioned her. And I lamented a little bit that our friend Katha used to send me every year a virtual candle to celebrate Diwali. And it hasn't happened lately, but I now understand she's been very busy with her own life. And I could have sent her a candle, and I didn't. So, it's on me, not on Katha. And I realized, in reflecting today and yesterday, that Katha is someone I have known for a very long time. She used to be a student here in America. She is now a bigwig back home in India. And I have known Katha for what, like 20 years? It's incredible when you think about it. And the most incredible thing is, Katha used to write for me for Go Inside magazine. And I'll show you an article that she wrote. That then became Boles blogs, because we had 14 various blogs at various stages of being published every day and every week, and I just compressed everything into one thing, Boles blogs. And Katha would submit articles, and we would publish them, and she would comment, and I would comment, and in 20 years of knowing her, I couldn't remember one time where we had any kind of disagreement. I don't even want to say argument, because there wasn't even anything close that was an argument. We may have had different points of views on maybe a couple of things. But what's amazing is how like-minded we are. And we come from two different places geographically, but not emotionally or intellectually, which I find really fascinating. And if you don't have a friend like that somewhere in the world, you don't know what you're missing. Until you don't have a Katha around every day. And for many years I did have Katha around. Almost every day. We had lovely chats, and we would talk, and we would get together. So let's go back to our browser. I love that dramatic cinematic music behind my Katha story. So now we're here, and I'm going to show you a little bit of my friend Katha. This is one of her stories, and she wrote many stories for Go Inside magazine. Originally written in 2008, that is like 100 years ago. And because this is the internet and nothing is less than soluble. We had a server crash, and we used to be posted 5 different places. Every year we go something new, because at that time there were fun places to go. Because there were new things that were being offered. And now everything's just kind of like owned by WordPress. So we used to be a movable type and typepad and whatever the thing is Microsoft was offering at the time, live spaces, something like that. I don't know. Or maybe that's what Twitter calls their conversation area. And in that process, we lost about 20 articles. Now we have 6,000 articles published, so it's really hard to pin down what's missing in a batch of 6,000 articles. Until you go looking for it one day and you say, where does that article go? Oh no, we lost it 7 years ago and we never replaced it. So this was one of our most special articles that we ever published that Katha wrote, called Black Measles. Black Measles Miracle, How I Survived Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever. And this was lost for years. And I found out it was lost, and I said, Katha, your article was one of the articles that was missing in our server crash. Send it to me. She didn't have a copy. And she had photographs of herself as a young child. I said, Katha, send me the photographs you had of yourself as a young child. She didn't have them. I didn't have them. I have everything. I back up everything. I have 4 different copies of everything. So I was desperate. I couldn't figure out. I wanted that article back because when you read it, it's heartbreaking and wonderful, and it's a story about getting a little emotional. This is my explanation of how I found the article. I found it on the Internet Archive, if you can believe that. If you don't support the Internet Archive with your money, and if you're not regularly saving your pages to the Internet Archive, saying save this page, you're doing a disservice to the Internet, because it's a wonderful place. When I found this article, and it was mostly there, even the images, I gave them $100. I said, thank you so much, because you found this article for me. And so this is the story of me finding her article for publishing back on Boles blogs. And the money I donated. And I just left it how I found it on the Internet Archive. Sort of formatted, sort of not formatted, there but not there. A missing image here. And I think I did find some of the images. I know one of them are missing. I thought I did find them. So it's a wonderful story about a young girl named Katha in India, and who is in trouble. And she tells her story. Red rash. Nobody knew what was wrong with her. She was dying. And this is where I get emotional. Her grandfather saved her. He did not give up. He fought to find out what was wrong with her. And a new doctor came in, and they figured out what was wrong with her. She had black measles, Rocky Mountain Spotted Fever, which is a very nasty thing. And she will tell you her story. As an aftermath of disease, I was supposed to end up with a deformed figure. I was supposed to lose my eyesight and my hearing. It was emotional to read in 2008, and it was emotional for me to publish then. And emotional for me to read Can you imagine losing this in a server crash? The doctor who treated me later confessed he had a chance to treat 3 patients like me. I was the only one that survived. So Katha, at a very young age, was given a second chance in life. And now, I have to take a little break to collect myself. And I'm going to come back and tell you more about our good friend Katha. Take a short break. Back in a moment. And we are back on David Boles Live. Thank you for being here. I've collected myself slightly, but not entirely. I take comfort in my Jana Marie tumbler, screaming into the unknown, looking for a way out. Don't spill the water. Buy it in the merch store, bolesbooks.org/merch. So I know I have photographs, because I found them somewhere, that go with that Katha story. And the young Katha, oh my gosh, just darling. And I get emotional because I also think it goes back all those years to when we were, many of us, about 10 of us, were writing Go Inside magazine together for no money. And we refused to accept advertising. Katha was part of that team. And that's a lot to ask for somebody, to say, hey, I would like you to come and write with me with the intention of making the world a better place and share our truths and what we know. And I don't have any money to pay you because I'm not getting paid myself. And that's the difference between what we were doing together back then to what's happening in a lot of places now. There are a lot of places where you can go and publish your stuff for free, and they're not going to pay you. But they're taking advertising, they're taking money, they're taking subscriptions. So they're getting paid, and you as the author are not getting paid. And for those kind of sites, I say, look, I don't write for free. And people say, but you ask people to write for you for free all the time. I say, well, that's true, but I wasn't getting paid. It was costing me money. It still costs me money. To keep publishing those articles, I have to buy server time every year. But that's my contribution to what's going on in the world and what I think is important. So our friend Katha was in the United States. Was going to, I believe, go on to study for her master's degree. And then she was called back home to India. I believe her mother had taken ill and she was going back to take care of her. And at the time I was dismayed. I said, Katha, you have a wonderful life in America. Do you want to give it up and go back? I'm afraid you'll never come back. And she said, I have a duty. I have to take care of my mother. And I think her flight back was something like 14 hours, and she slept for 3 days. That's the story I remember, because she was so tired. But she took care of her mother, had a wonderful life, has had many important, prestigious jobs in India, and she's still my friend. So it's so funny that last week we were talking about Diwali and the celebration in Jersey City. And then this week, I think it was yesterday, Katha, as she does every once in a while, we say hello, she pops in. We had a long talk about COVID about a year ago. Terrifying in India, terrifying here. Oh, I was worried for her. They seemed they were going herd immunity, no inoculations. Oh, makes me very nervous. And she got in touch yesterday and she said, hey, here's some photographs of my wedding. Katha got married. My good friend Katha got married, and she shared her photographs with me, as I'm going to share them with you right now. This is my beautiful friend Katha. Who got a second chance at life, and who knows it, and who appreciates it, and who lives every day of her life in gratitude. Hello, Gianna. Oh, the photos are beautiful. We did look at them this morning together. Hello, Jana Marie. Jana Marie is deaf, so I'm going to write back to her. Oh, I didn't know what I did there. Hi, Jana Marie. So that is wonderful Katha. Oops. I keep doing that. Oops. Very sensitive. Let's go to the next one. More photographs. I love the culture. I love the celebration. It's just beautiful. And I was so honored that she shared this joy with me. She also has a wonderful Instagram account where she posts a lot of pictures of birds and nature, which is very fascinating. She doesn't post a lot of pictures of herself. She's not into that kind of ego thing. She told me this morning, I don't really understand Instagram. And I said, Katha, I don't either. I don't know why people go there. She said, I think reading is important. And I said, I agree with you. Because we were talking about this live stream. And I said, but that's okay, because live streaming can lead people into reading. We've had conversations about Aristotle's Poetics and writing. And maybe the kids today don't really want to. They want to watch people talking about video games. Well, we're not doing that. We're talking about second chances at life and education and finding meaning and friendship. That's what we're doing here. That's how life works. And there's our beautiful bride, Katha, and her lovely groom. Now our friend Dora. That makes 3 of us. I don't know. What's the sense with Instagram? Of Instagram. I do feel the same way about that. And I do post on Instagram because when you're kind of publishing things, you're supposed to be everywhere. You're supposed to be on the Twitter, you're supposed to be on the TikTok, Instagram, all of it. And for what purpose? And we're live streaming because it does remind me of my old radio days, which I may discuss a little bit later today or tomorrow, depending on our time schedule. But now I'm just curious, is my Instagram up? I do want to see if it's working here. Am I logged in? No, I'm not logged in. Do I want to sign in? I guess I'll try. Yeah, let me go to my main chat screen, so if I reveal something I'm not supposed to reveal, I'll get in trouble. Oh, it needs a security code. Well, let me see if I have the security code. Oh, here it is. See, this is the problem with live streaming, is you're doing this when you're not supposed to be doing that. And it's all a big mess. But that's okay. What else do we have to do today? Let's see if this gets us in or not. It sent me a secret code. Save your login information. Yes, please. No notifications, thank you. Okay, so is this me now? Profile. Okay, here we go. Now we'll go back to the big screen. Hello. Okay, so this is my Instagram page. Boles Books. Not a lot of followers, but a lot of posts. What have I done with my life? 6,540 posts. And then we go here to go to our feed. I don't know what the heck they call it. And this shows you what's going on. And I'm looking for my friend Dora. I'm looking for her. Let me see if I can find her. I don't know. What is it? Dora. Ah! I found it. So this is Dora. She's in our chat. And she's an artist. Look at these lovely things. She doesn't understand what Instagram is for. And I said, Dora, Instagram is for you. This is where you can show all your beautiful artwork. And she gets a lot of feedback and a lot of comments. So she doesn't understand what Instagram is for, but the rest of us do. So visit her page. Dora.adora.artist. You can send her a message and follow her. You can see all these wild and crazy things, which I like. And that reminds me, keep scrolling. Look at all these interesting things. And you can make them bigger, click on them, and see what people are saying. And that reminds me, I'll go to, was it Boles Books? This is my bio page, bolesbooks.com/Boles, which is, you know, the bio. People want a bio. And then I put crazy pictures of myself on there because some people will take them. Oh, here I am live, broadcasting live. There's my scary Halloween mask that Jana painted. This is me as Robert Goulet. That's who I look like when I took off my Halloween mask, because it wouldn't come off very well. These are the profile photos. This is me wearing a leopard thing that is mollifying my skin. And here, these are Dora's early takes on me as a human being. Wild. The spiraling eyeballs. These are based on photographs on Boles.com that she then drew. I love the 7 noses. I used that quite a lot as my profile figure. This is the young me from college. This is me. This is my lamp. This is me typing scripts back in Nebraska a long time ago. This is my profile picture at the time. And this is me in the pandemic. So Dora is very talented, as you can see. She's done many things, and we appreciate her. Now let's take a look at our friend Katha. See if I can find her. Oh, there we go. Now this is Katha's Instagram page that she doesn't understand either. None of us understand Instagram, but there we are. We're all on there with posts. And you can see lovely, nature, birds. This is her life. Very, very, very lovely. So go to Instagram and follow Dora, follow Katha. If you have it in me, you can follow me if you're daring. And this tying up of the past with the present, and the heartache of being a person trying to find your meaning in life. Now, Dora has gone from pencil drawings to very rich paintings. So there's a lot of movement here. And she had a lot of fun during the pandemic, which is a good thing in the middle of a pandemic, to have fun and do something you really want to do. And as I understand it, she's looking forward to her retirement so she can concentrate on doing things she really enjoys and not things she has to do because it's required of her. Interesting stuff. I love the use of color. It's just anarchic in many ways, which is what I like. I like abstraction. You know, realism in art is something I've never really understood. If someone wants to draw a hyper-realistic something, that's why I like having 7 noses in that one drawing that Dora did of me. Why not just take photograph? I don't understand the admiration of the talent for completely and directly replicating a real-life drawing of a photograph. Or a real-life drawing of something you're looking in real life, and it's so hyper-photorealistic. Is it really the person, or is it the artist? Well, what is the point of being an artist if you're just copying somebody so it looks exactly like them? I want to see your interpretation. The John F. Kennedy official portrait, have you seen that? Let me see if I can find that. That's an example of what I'm talking about. Now, the portrait that I'm talking about is this one. Now, that's a portrait. The National Portrait Gallery. Let me see. It's de Kooning's JFK. And this is how she painted him for his official portrait. Now, is that not the most amazing, magnificent thing you've ever seen? That a president would sit for an official portrait and have it turn out like that? It's absolutely spectacular. That's a guy who understood the arts and understood what it means to be an artist. Thank you, Dora. I appreciate you being here and participating in chat. I appreciate your talent. And now we're going to take a very small secondary break for blood pressure. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a very interesting quote from King Lear. Shakespeare. How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. And yes, we are making connections between writing and Katha, the new Katha, the old Katha, the Dora, what was, what is. It's all coming up next here on David Boles Live. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. David Boles live. Thank you for being here today. I really appreciate you. Such an interesting, wide-ranging conversation we're sharing today. And Dora, I saw your comment while I was blood pressuring. I agree, beautiful portrait of JFK. I never knew it existed. I'll have to look it up. And you need to look it up because it looks exactly like what you're drawing. Yeah, I think it's that good. I love it. So I found this on the break. This is a Smithsonian magazine explaining why de Kooning's portrait of JFK broke all the rules. And when it came out, there was outrage everywhere. How can that be an artist? It's so ugly. Why did JFK support it? It's green. It's not even a... Look, this is how it looks. It's tall and skinny as a portrait. There's a portrait has to be like this and in a fancy frame. And she said, no, I'm not doing it like that. I'm doing it this way. And JFK loved it. He went right along with it. He didn't care. He thought it was great. So you keep reading this article, and here's the up-close of the portrait. And you can't really say it's flattering, because he looks very sad there. And almost blue. But it's worth looking at, because she went against all of the ideas of what a portrait should be and said, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to go a different way. I'm going to give David Boles 7 noses. How about that for a portrait? And here's the caption of this photograph as she's presenting her. Presenting her series on JFK in February of '65, she told the former President Harry Truman, I offer you not a portrait of John F. Kennedy, but a glimpse. Exactly right. It's an early version. Happier, not as green. And there you go. The JFK portrait. Find it, enjoy it. Make it your wallpaper. It's so funny, on the break I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if Katha and Dora and I were all in a room together one day and we all said, what are we doing on Instagram? And we'd say, we have no idea. Why are we here? I don't know. We're here because everyone else is here. But why? I don't know, but we have to be here. I guess that's how peer pressure works. Or trying to be a part of a community works online. Oh, Janet talking to Dora, it's so lovely. Chat works. It's odd, but it works. I have to say hello to Janet. Hello, Janet. So nice to have you with us today. Oh, and Jana is doing a special tomorrow because it's Veterans Day in America, so she's off work and she's going to be here. Now, I'm not saying she's going to be here on our live stream via her own free will, but against her free will, she has agreed to appear. And she's going to be sharing a story, or she's going to be teaching something, I don't know. And then Friday, which is her usual day of appearance, she's going to be here again. So we get her twice live in this chair this week. It's very lovely. Typing to Jan Marie because she is deaf and she reads texts. Oh, beautiful. Okay, calendar. So a calendar is very interesting because you move forward in time and backward in time and then present time. So in ASL, this way, signing something this way usually means in the future. Signing something behind your head means past. And something in this plane where you're signing means it's happening right now. So Jan is going to go through probably days of the week, this week, next week. It's important. It's the idea of time when it comes to ASL. It can be very complicated. But hey, you're going to have Jana Marie teaching it to you tomorrow in a brief little session. And it's for everyone. You don't have to be an advanced signer. You don't have to know sign language. You can be a beginner and still get something out of her presentation. So we hope you'll be here. She usually shows up around 10, 15 our time. About an hour and 15 minutes into the beginning of our live stream. So we've been talking about influences and pasts and presents today. And that leads me to an interesting idea of how the past and present come together in education. And I'll leave up this portrait of JFK that I love so much because it does kind of round out and make a bridge into this next conversation we're going to have about education. What I like to call the golden circle of education. And it is a circle. You study with someone here, right? And they've studied with someone over here, and then you meet them, and then you study with someone else, and they're still connected to that person that you studied with, and on and on and on and on, and the circle comes around. It's a circle of people you know and people you interact with. And it becomes important, and it's a golden circle because every time a new arc is added to that circle, it adds value and beauty and understanding to what you're trying to do. So who you study with matters. The person who is your teacher matters. And often in the big schools, the private schools, the people you study with usually are well known. They have good reputations. They're incredibly smart. Now, there are some people who will say, well, a community college is the same education you get at a big private university. And while in theory I do agree with that, but in practice and practicality, that's not really true because it's a different caliber of mind and experience that you're integrating with. And it does make a difference. There's a difference between, just speaking personally, the many instructors I had at the University of Nebraska versus the instructors I had at Columbia University in the city of New York. There's a diversity change, there is an experiential change that is important and worthwhile. And one of the people I met at Columbia University who brought me there was Dr. Howard Stein. And if you're a friend of mine and a friend of this live stream and the Human Being podcast, you know Howard very well. And when Howard was a student, undergraduate, at Columbia University, he had an instructor. And then 30 years later, when I became a graduate student at Columbia University, I had Howard as my instructor. But with this golden circle of education, I believe that because Howard had this famous instructor at Columbia who is now dead, and Howard shared what he learned from that instructor with me, that I also, in the golden circle idea, also had that instructor as my instructor. And so I feel vested in that. And the instructor, he had many of them, that he really liked the most was a very famous instructor at Columbia, and his name was Mark Van Doren. Mark Van Doren was a poet. He had a very famous brother named Charles Van Doren. They were both intellectual geniuses, and everyone around them knew it. There was no doubting who they were and why they were important. And the beautiful thing about Mark Van Doren, especially in the case of Howard Stein, is that Mark was world famous. He taught for 40 years at Columbia University. And his joy at Columbia University was teaching freshman literature. Now, a man of that stature at a major university really wants to do three things. One, run away from undergraduates. They don't want to deal with them. Two, they want to do research, don't want to be bothered. Three, they want to write and they want to read in the privacy of their office, and they don't want to be bothered. My graduate students are students, but usually people, instructors, men, women of that caliber, don't really want to deal with students. The university doesn't care because the university wants them as part of the university. Yes, Mark Van Doren is a very important poet and critic. He was very well known. So Howard loved Mark Van Doren. Howard was a freshman and Van Doren was his teacher. This world-famous instructor teaching these fresh-faced kids from all over the world at Columbia University. It doesn't happen now, and it didn't happen then, except in the case of Mark Van Doren. And it made him beloved by his students, because he would, as a god who walks the earth, would lower himself to teach them what he knew. And I don't think he even had tests. You just came in every day and sat in his class, and he would lecture on a piece of literature, and you go home. And you'd write a paper or something, but it wasn't about that. It was about being in the same room at the same time with Mark Van Doren. So Howard Stein was a very wonderful guy and very emotional. And he said to Mark Van Doren in his dismay when his father died, he said, "Mark, my father was a good man. And I don't know what to do without him." And when Howard's father died, he was lost and distraught. He went to his famous teacher to share his grief and said, "We lost a good man, Mr. Van Doren. My father was a good man." And Mark Van Doren said to Howard Stein, 18 years old, heartbroken that his father was dead, Mark Van Doren said, "Howard, there are not enough of them." With the idea being that we all need to become better people. We all need to be like Howard's father. And that's what I felt when Howard Stein died recently. We all have to become better. We have to fill the hole that he leaves behind. Now this is Mark Van Doren on his Columbia page. He is still absolutely celebrated there. They absolutely love him. Here is how his biography, not an obituary, starts. "Of all the stars in the long line of distinguished teachers at Columbia College," which is the undergraduate school at Columbia, "none have shone more brightly than Mark Van Doren. Nationally famous as a novelist, playwright, critic, editor, and poet. His collected poems won the Pulitzer Prize in 1940. At the college, Van Doren is also remembered as the quintessential great teacher. In his nearly 4 decades at Columbia, Van Doren introduced generations to Western literature and became a trusted friend and advisor to Howard Stein. Not just Howard, but to everyone in his class, to students and fellow teachers." And above all, Van Doren was a poet and a teacher, as Thomas Merton, the famous Thomas Merton, said in a letter to Van Doren, "You always used your gifts to make people admire and understand poetry and good writing and truth." So we have another good man. We have Howard Stein's father dead. We have Mark Van Doren alive. And here's Mark Van Doren's Wikipedia page. Very well known, taught for a long time, absolutely beloved by everyone. And then everything changed. And the world collapsed around Mark Van Doren. And this is where I am reminded of the Shakespeare quote that I shared with you before our break. King Lear, how sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. Mark Van Doren had a son named Charles Van Doren, who became infamous for scandal and for creating darkness in the areas where his father shed light in knowledge and education. And as a study of people and human failing, it makes you wonder how a man like Mark Van Doren can have a son like Charles Van Doren. Charles Van Doren became infamous, and this is his Wikipedia page compared to his father's. His father's Wikipedia page begins, "Was an American poet, writer, and critic, scholar, professor, English, Columbia University 40 years ago, influential writers and thinkers like Thomas Merton, Robert Lax, John Berryman, Whittaker Chambers, Allen Ginsberg." And here's how the son's biography begins. An American writer and editor who was involved in a television quiz show scandal in the 1950s. In 1959, he testified before the United States Congress that he had been given the correct answers by one of the producers of the NBC quiz show 21. Terminated by NBC, he joined Encyclopedia Britannica in 1959 and became vice president of writing and editing. So we have the scholar father and the cheating son. And here's how it was reported
in the Senate hearing room
when it happened.
The dramatic climax of the probe of fixed and rigged quiz show. Charles Van Doren's wife and father, poet Mark Van Doren, are in the audience as committee chairman Senator Orrin Harris opens the hearing. Charles Van Doren arrives to apologize and attempt to explain to the millions whose friendship and respect he had won. In his quiz show appearances, he also won $129,000, earned a handsome broadcasting contest. Van Doren retracts his earlier denial of getting any assistance. He admits that he received dramatic coaching and the questions and many of the answers. But his statement is a rueful and moving realization that for his wealth and fame, he paid a bitterly high price.
So that is the misbegotten son, Charles Van Doren, of the famous father Mark Van Doren. And Charles Van Doren would never have been invited to be on that quiz show if not for his father. And as Doris said in chat, I forgot about that quiz show, a movie. Interesting movie. Was about the scandal of him being given the answers and appearing brilliant. And the father didn't know any of this that was going on. His father was very proud of him as the show was going on every week, and his son kept moving up, and the father says, "My goodness, I've done something right. My son is smart. He's winning money. He's making a difference in the world." when it was all a scam. But Mark Van Doren never abandoned his son. He said he made a mistake. He did the wrong thing. And Charles Van Doren, for many years, just really tried to deny that he knew anything about it. And it was really unfortunate because you have this famous, wonderful father who has this lying, cheating, stealing son. And perhaps Mark Van Doren was the better man to realize throughout history and poetry and literature that that's how these things go. You have wonderful fathers with the misbegotten sons. You have sons who are wonderful and rise up against their misbegotten fathers and fight back. Somehow Mark Van Doren knew that was the cycle of literature and legitimacy in storytelling. But it's absolutely fascinating. And the second paragraph of Charles Van Doren's biography discusses his father, born in New York City, elder son of Pulitzer Prize-winning poet, critic, and teacher Mark Van Doren, and his novelist mother, Dorothy. Carl Van Doren is his uncle. Had the education and the opportunity of his life, and he threw it all away for a little bit of money. It just makes you wonder about character. And it makes you wonder why a person decides, I'm going to go this way instead of that way. I could follow in my father's footsteps and be beloved and teach at Columbia University for the rest of my life. Or I could go on this game show and pretend to be smart, and pretend to know the answers, and see if I could get away with it. I guess he thought he'd never be caught. But what a wonderful lesson. In a thankless child biting you back. So we like to think that education is fair and equitable and open and accessible to everyone. And the fact is that it is not. There's a sharp divide between the elite Ivy League schools and other schools. And to not recognize that difference is very dangerous, because a lot of policy and decisions are being made at those upper level schools that doesn't include the rest of us. And in some ways, a bullhunk from Nebraska, graduating from a football school, going to get a master's degree at Columbia University with Howard Stein and, by indirect comparison, Mark Van Doren, means that I bought my way into the circle. At least a little bit. And I did. And it cost me. Student loans are just devastating and drowning and suffocating. But I try to continue the circle with my teaching, and I tell my students that story about the golden circle. I tell them, hey, if you think about it, in some ways, you're being taught by Mark Van Doren. They say, who is Mark Van Doren? And I say, well, here's a story for you. Let's start with Shakespeare and King Lear, and how sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. And I think I'm talking about them, but I'm not. But I can make the connection back to Mark Van Doren and directly to Howard Stein, because Howard shared a lot of stories and a lot of things that he learned from Mark that he would not have learned in his life without Mark Van Doren. And I have learned and I know a lot of things in my life that I never would have known without the benefit of being Howard Stein's friend and then ultimately student. So education is separating. There are people who know and people who don't know. And I'm not devaluing anybody who works in a factory or anybody who drives a truck for a living. Those are very important crafts, and they are artists as much as the poet. But if you want to talk about discrimination and inclusion and power in America, it's happening without a lot of us. And it's happening at these upper levels where people continue their own private golden circles, and they don't want us to be part of it. They don't want to let us in on the secrets and the knowing. They want to exclude us. And then, every once in a while, in a generation or two, you get a Mark Van Doren who says, hey, come to my freshman comp class, my English class, my literature class, and I'll teach you what I know. Or you get Howard Stein saying, hey, you're in the middle of Nebraska. Why don't you come on out to Columbia University and see what we have here, and maybe you'll like it. And maybe I, in some small way, can say to other authors, hey, I'm doing this magazine. I'd love for you to come out, write for me. And then you have Katha's, and then you meet Dora's, and you meet wonderful people like Jana Marie, who will escape with you to New York City from the Midwest, just to get a chance to touch that golden circle and to have the opportunity to get out. Well, it's that time, blood pressure time, and then I'm going to come back and tell you another interesting story, I hope, about working overnights and the perils of believing lies that are told to you. Back in a moment. And we're back from our break. Thank you for joining us on David Boles Live. I'm just reminded to putting a final cap on the Mark Van Doren conversation. I admire so much how Mark Van Doren stood by his son in the midst of this ridiculous self-imposed tragedy. You know, today you'd probably get a lot of parents who say, oh, I raised him better than that. I don't know who he is. I'll never speak to him again. Not Mark Van Doren. Charles is my son, and I love him. So now we're going to go back in time just a little bit and talk about radio. And when you start out in radio, as I did when I was about 13 years old, I had a radio show called Unique Youth. And it was a weekly show that was on KFOR radio in Lincoln, Nebraska, and also on X103, an FM station owned by the same company. And the idea behind Unique Youth is that every week the youth interviewing youth, I would interview another young person in the community who was doing good things in the world. And it was about a 10-15 minute show, and it aired early in the morning, like 5 o'clock, when no one was up and no one was listening, but I listened. And we had a lot of people who appeared on the show and who appreciated being on the show. And one day, I happened to bump into the general manager of the radio station. And he sort of knew who I was. And I was hoping, because I had been working for free, taking the bus there and back almost every day, because I would write, I would use their phone to contact students to be on the show. Maybe it was a couple of days a week. And I wanted to ask him if it would be possible for me to get bus fare there and back on the days that I worked. I think it was $1.25 one way, so it was $2.50 a couple of days a week, $5. And the general manager at the time looked at me and said, I don't really like the show. I was shocked. I'd been working on it for about a year. This is the first I'd heard anything negative about it. Everyone seemed to love the idea. I looked at him and I said, well, why? I don't like it. And it was then I knew I was not going to get $5 for bus fare. And it was soon after that that I said, well, I don't think I really feel like I have a welcome future here. So maybe I need to go someplace else. And so I did. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because you're kind of young and you're not really driving yourself yet. The air shifts you get in radio are the overnight shift, the graveyard shift. You start at midnight, you usually get off at 6 a.m. in the morning, sometimes 5 in the morning. And I had heard that another radio station was looking for an overnight person, but on the weekends, you got a real shift from noon to 6. So the overnights, you're really not doing anything. There are other programs running, Larry King Live, or some other kind of talk show. So I left my well-established, famous station, KFOR, #1 station in the area, the most beautiful studios in the area, for a lesser radio station, KLMS, 1480, Lincoln. LMS meant Lincoln's music station. And the person who hired me there was a woman who was on the morning show. And she said that they needed help. And they had heard my interview show, and they thought I'd do a good job. So I said, okay. The money was a little better. They were going to pay me at least an hourly wage. I think it was, $4, $5 an hour, $4.80. And unlike being in a professional studio, like KFOR was, Kalamesh was in an old dentist's office. So it had the 1950s architectural design of a dentist's office in the structure. And then you go in and you can see the rooms where they saw the patients. One was a newsroom, one was somebody's office, one was the actual studio. You went downstairs where the labs were. It was a very strange experience. It was a very dirty, filthy kind of building that had not been kept up. You could tell they had absolutely no money. But I thought, hey, this could be an opportunity for me. So this woman said, oh yeah, and you have your own shift on Sundays. Overnights, you're going to do a couple of things and just kind of clean up, you know. And at the top of the hour, say, this is Kalamesh, Lincoln's music station. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. And maybe do the weather once or twice. But the afternoons, you're going to be spinning records. And I thought, oh my gosh, 12 hours, 6 on Saturday, 6 on Sunday. I'm going to be spinning records for Kalamesh, Lincoln's music station. So I did my overnights, then came my Sundays, and I was in training. So I thought, okay, I go in there, get trained, you know, where all the records are, how things work. And at that time, Kalamesh was spinning records. KFOR had music on cartridges where you put it in and hit a button. Not digital, it was a tape cartridge. And so I'm in there and I'm being trained. And this fellow training me pulls out this stack of records, albums. And I look at it and think, well, that's interesting. And I said, what is that? And he said, oh, this is where you're going to be spinning today, and then you're going to repeat it on Sunday. And I said, well, what is it? He said, these are your records. I said, my records? This is not an AOR station, album-oriented rock. This is Kalamesh, the hits. Can finally do boss radio. And he laughed and laughed and laughed. He laughed at me and he laughed at me and he laughed at me. And he said, you think you're going to be spinning records? Like a DJ? I said, well, yeah, that's why I was hired, because... He said, on Saturday and Sunday for 6 hours, you are going to be playing Casey Kasem's top 10. Top 40 hits from Casey Kasem. Keep your feet on the ground and keep reaching for the stars. I said, what? He said, that's what all these albums are. You're going to put the needle on one, the whole side's going to play, then you're going to play the other album and you go back and forth. So you're spinning records, but you're spinning Casey Kasem. You're not going to say anything for 6 hours. I said, well, that wasn't what I was told. He said, well, what shift did you think you had? You didn't listen between the hours of 12 and 6 on Saturday and Sunday to know the programming of the station you were going to? No. I didn't even want to go there. I wanted to be at KFOR, but I couldn't get bus fare. Well, this is what you do. So he showed me how to set up the turntables, a very old board, you know, with radio dials. It was ancient. But it was Kalamesh. So we ran the show together, and there was absolutely nothing to do. He said, you're going to need to bring a book, because you have one side of the album is half an hour, the other side of the album is half an hour, and then you keep flipping them over. So as I'm sitting there and we're, talking, and the next week I'm there on my own, and I did it on my own because I wanted to see if I could do it, and it was very easy. He answered the phone, did a lot of magazine reading. And I finally, the next week, called this woman and said, I feel misled that you brought me here. You told me a couple of overnights during the week, and then the weekends I was going to be spinning records like a DJ. She said, well, you are. And I said, well, I'm not. because I'm not allowed to say anything. And while I'm spinning records, they're not records, it's Casey Kasem. You know, later on, Casey Kasem would be live recorded somewhere and sent digitally, but in those days, they distributed records of these shows. And she said, well, are you calling me a liar? And I said, I'm not calling you anything. I'm just curious, will I ever have a chance where I can speak in my own voice, introduce records, do the news, and the weather, like we discussed in my interview. And she said, well, I don't know about that. I said, okay. So 2 days later, I get a phone call. You need to come in and talk to us right away. And I could tell in the tone of her voice that it was over. I was out. The gig was up. And I asked her, I said, are you firing me? And she said, well, you better come in and find out. And I said, you know what? I don't think I'll go back in. And she said, okay, that's fine. You're out. But can you come in and work this weekend? I said, no, I don't think I will. And I politely hung up the phone. Never heard from her, never heard from Katha again in my life. So I was out of a job. Couldn't get bus fare, couldn't get my own show. Very disappointed. And then I get a phone call from a fellow I used to work with at KFOR, who had left KFOR to program his own station. It was formerly a religious station, but it was very close to my home, so I could get there within 5 minutes if I drove my car, or 15 minutes if I walked. But I drove. As a friend of mine said, when you start driving, walking to the curb is a long way. So he said, look, you can come here, work for me. KBHL, an FM station. It had been a religious station. KBHL, everyone joked, meant kept by his love. And they were changing formats, and KBHL became sillily known in the radio community as kept by his lasso. And I didn't really like country music, but I had been denied airfare. I had been denied my own show. And he was going to pay me a little extra money to come over there and work the overnight shift on the weekend and come and help during the week, working the board for commercial recording. And he was going to pay me, I think it was $50 a month, which was a lot of money, to vacuum the basement of the building. Okay, that's easy money. He didn't tell me that plugging in the vacuum would make all of the electricity in the building go off, though, and that happened all the time. So I take this job, kept by his lasso, KBHL, overnight, and all the music is on big reel-to-reel. So you're not doing anything except saying, KBHL, Lincoln, Nebraska, 1 a.m. in the morning. Can't even say your name. And this friend of mine from KFOR, now KBHL, said, you can't be David Boles. I don't want you to use that name. And I said, well, what name should I use? He said, make up a name, but don't be David Boles. That's played out. So I said, okay. So I'll be David Morgan. He said, why would you pick that name? And I didn't know at that time that there was a famous DJ in Los Angeles called Robert W. Morgan, who was very good. I just picked it out because one of the theater guys that I knew was a professor, was named Bill Morgan. I like the name. David Morgan. And she said, okay, you give me David Morgan. And so I was, and then they got a new general manager at that station, and he came in and said, I've never not been a success anywhere I came from, and I'm coming in here in Lane, Nebraska, with that southern accent sort of, and I'm gonna make this a #1 station. And the fact of the matter is the station, I think, died within a month or two, and everyone was fired and out of a job, and it was total misery. So I wasn't having a lot of luck being raised on radio, so I decided to swallow my pride and call KFOR back and say, hey, I'd love to come back. And I had a meeting at McDonald's with the guy who helped me set up Unique Youth. And if you have a copy of Unique Youth anywhere, please get in touch. I've lost all my copies, and no one seems to have one. So if by chance you have it, let me know. And over some French fries at McDonald's, when the French fries were actually good, I was told, you left. And we gave your slot to somebody else. I didn't have a slot, but I understood what he meant. So I said, well, I'm available if you need me. And I know radio stations really do need people, because no one really wants to work the overnight shift. Even if you're a student at the university, it's a terrible gig, because you're all by yourself and there's nothing to do, and you can't really say anything. And if you're on the radio, you want to talk. So in a couple of weeks, I got a call, hey, come in, we need some help with the football, because at that time you could go around and there were 10 different stations with 10 different announcers all broadcasting the same Nebraska football. So I would be the home station, and I would call in sports scores of other games into the booth, and they needed someone to answer the phones. And then at night, I would help out the night DJ, and then overnight, I would take over the overnight. Okay. So I did it, went back, got paid a fair amount of money. Was even celebrated here, as you can see in this lovely newspaper advertisement. I'm the one with the big glasses. I even got to do my own little air check show for an hour on the weekends, 5 to 6 a.m., 1983, you're the big glasses. There I am graduating from high school. There's my speech of the high school, holding it in my mouth so I could shake hands with one hand and take my diploma with the other. And here I am playing the outfield for the KFOR softball team. And there I am also. So we're going to end today on a high note, as I play for you my air check from KFOR radio. Let me get rid of this music, so you can see that I finally actually did get to say my name, and I did get to have some fun, and I did actually have a life that was more than just spinning other people's records or spinning. Ooh, the sirens are coming. See, that's what the music, the streaming music blocks. It's all that outside noise. So this is my air check from KFOR. It's only about 5 minutes. And you can see that I consider this the pinnacle of my radio career.
That's DeBarge on KFOR 1240 in the rhythm of the night, 7:14. Good evening, Lincoln. I'm Dave Boles on a Saturday night with Huey Lewis and the news. Latest from Dan Fogelberg on KFOR, and go down easy. It's 7:21, and here's your KFOR color radar weather forecast. It was a gorgeous day today. Nice sunny skies and blue conditions. Tonight we have clear skies, a low around 30 degrees. Tomorrow, sunshine and warm, a high near 62. And tomorrow night clear with a low at 32. And Monday, as you head to work or head off to school, sunshine, continued mild, a high around 60 degrees. Currently in Omaha, clear conditions and 51. And in Lincoln, not bad, 52 degrees, clear skies and starshine at KFOR. KFOR 1240. Today is Lincoln Appliance Parts Supply Day on your KFOR Lucky Day calendar. In our jackpot, $35 in cash from KFOR, and from the good folks at Lincoln Appliance Parts Supply, a $35 and a gift certificate. We had a mild taste of spring weather so far, and though you might not be ready to get out the gas grill, fire it up, and start cooking for the first cookout, now is the time to let Lincoln Appliance clean up your gas grill for you. Lincoln Appliance will make your gas grill look just like new, or can support any parts you might need if you're the do-it-yourself type. It will be cookout time before you know it, so make absolutely positively certain your gas grill is ready when you get that urge to barbecue. See Lincoln Appliance today at 27th and Randolph. The KFOR Lucky Day calendar number is 45910, 45910. If that's your number, you have 5 minutes to dial me up on the KFOR response line at 476-1240, and I'll color you a winner. The USA for Africa on KFOR 1240. We are the world, 738. I'm Dave Boles, and boy, that kind of song just makes you sit back, gets the old foot tapping, and the spine and the entire back starts to tingle and get goosebumps. We are the world. The Nebraska Directors Theater is presenting Don Negro's comedy, The Curate Shakespeare, As You Like It. I caught that last night. It's strange and hilarious, but if you're a purist Shakespeare man, I suggest that you don't go see it, because it is really bizarre. It's being performed tonight at 8, so I think if you hurry down there, I'm sure you could make it. And tomorrow at 2 p.m., catch the afternoon matinee. Tickets are only $3 for students and senior citizens, and for $4 for the general public. Advance reservations may be made by calling 472-1610. The box office will also be open 1 hour prior to curtain times to go down there to NDT and catch some laughs from KFOR. KFOR and castles in the air. 7:52, your KFOR color radar weather forecast is calling for clear, cool nights and sunny, mild days through Monday. Highs around 65 degrees and lows bottoming out at only 33. Currently in Omaha, they're experiencing mostly clear skies and 50 degrees. In Lincoln, we have clear skies and 51 now at KFOR. At 3 before 8 o'clock, this is KFOR 1240 Lincoln, Nebraska. Still the one you turn to for news. Good evening. At 7:57 for KFOR News, I'm Dave Boles. This news is brought to you by the Lincoln Transportation System. An employee injury lawsuit filed against the Burlington Northern Railroad in U.S. District Court in Lincoln has been settled. The $2.5 million suit was filed last January by Shirley Ann Bubak. The Box County attorney claims she suffered back injuries while working as a BN brakewoman, and terms of that settlement were not disclosed. A Lincoln woman has filed an age and discrimination lawsuit in U.S. District Court against State Labor Commissioner Ron Sorensen. 44-year-old Donna McKibben says she was unable to obtain a full-time department position in December 1983 because of age and sex discrimination. McKibben seeks $150,000 in compensatory damages and punitive damages, and asks that she be given a permanent position with the department with retroactive income and retroactive benefits. A campaign to raise $1.2 million to build a new People's City Mission in Lincoln is about to begin. The director of the Shelter for the Homeless, Steve Yankovic, says a limited campaign will begin early in April and become a community-wide effort by May. A new 2-story shelter will be built at 1st and Q Streets. The mission is now housed in a cramped building on Knight Street in Lincoln. The president of the Citizens Commissions for the Study of Higher Education says the state no longer can afford high annual budget increases for education. Willis Strauss of Omaha delivered that message today to the University of Nebraska Board of Regents. Strauss says the university must learn to reallocate existing funds and work with the 4 state colleges in times of tight budgets. KFOR News Time is 7:59. And we'll take a check of your KFOR radar weather next. KFOR radar weather forecast is calling for clear skies tonight, low 32 degrees. Currently 50 and clear now at KFOR 1240 Lincoln, Nebraska. Still the one you turn to for news from ABC.
And there you go. Oh, it brings back a lot of memories. Wasn't terrible. Better than bus fare. And in those days, when you were on the air and doing an air check, and we were required by our station manager to do weekly air checks, and you go in to meet with him and you go over what you did. You do it for like an hour, which was fine. Got a lot of good feedback. There's a big reel-to-reel machine out there in the lobby, the editing bay, that was dedicated just to air checks. And every time you'd press the button to turn on your mic, the reel-to-reel would start recording. And then you're done talking, you'd hit the button, and it would stop recording. So that's why in AirCheck, if you listen to them, and there are a lot of neat ones out there, I really like. That's why the music starts and stops. It seems like, wait a minute, why are we hearing the music? It's because that's when the person hit their button and goes. And sometimes they just record the whole shift and then they edit it down themselves so the beats match. Some of them are very nice. We should go back one day, and we will, and find and listen to some of the old air checks from the 1970s in Los Angeles. Oh, they're just absolutely magnificent and fun. Robert W. Morgan is one of them. Charlie Tuna from Nebraska, another very interesting air check guy. And that's the story of how I went from trying to get bus fare to not wanting to be Casey Kasem's disc jockey to celebrating country music to finally being able to do the news, weather, and maybe some sports on KFOR. And if you notice in that air check sample, there was a lot of weather. Very important in Nebraska. And my friend Dora said in chat, she taped herself. Doesn't know where it is, but she thought I sounded great. Thank you so much, Dora. Finding old stuff that you lose is just terrifying. I also did television movie reviews as a kid, and those tapes appear to have disappeared as well. Heartbreaking stuff. I have almost everything in my online archives at Boles.com, except for a Unique Youth show and one of my movie reviews on Channel 10. I'm still looking for them. I'm doing my best. And even on television in Nebraska, the news and other places around the country make fun of it. They start the newscast with the weather forecast. It's the first 5 minutes. Because the farmers in the Midwest want to know what tomorrow's going to be, if it's going to rain or not, and what time they got to get up in the morning. So they listen to the 5-minute weather forecast, 10 o'clock. Not the 11 o'clock news. In the Midwest, it's 10 o'clock. They watch 5 minutes, they go to bed. So today we had a very interesting day, full of circles and making connections. We rediscovered our friend Katha, who's having a wonderful life in India. We discussed art. We looked at some wonderful examples from our friend Dora, who is very loyal and dedicated here in our chat. We talked about the Van Dorens and how the history of a father affects the future of a son. And we had some fun with being live on the radio. Who knows what tomorrow will bring? We have some ideas. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, find me on Twitter at David Boles. Facebook, facebook.com/BOLES. Instagram, Boles Books. And right here on Twitch, follow us please, if you will. Boles Books. I thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate your company. And I will see you again very soon. Take care and be well.